Alright, welcome to Spec Proof and welcome to the all-new Mazda CX-60. In this review, I'm going to give you a thorough overview. I'll go over the engines, trims, options and pricing. For the competition, I have a separate video coming soon. But most importantly, I will elaborate on why the CX-60 is the most important Mazda of this century. And in my opinion, there are three main reasons for that claim. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to Inchcape Mazda. I'm very grateful for giving me a chance to check out this very exciting SUV. Now, Mazda is a very respectable company with a loyal fan base, and they make solid vehicles with great value. Compared to the other Japanese makes, they put a little bit more effort into driving engagement and vehicle feedback. They are not known as a luxury or so-called premium brand, but in the last 5 years or so, this has been quietly changing. Mazda is moving upmarket. The first clear indication was the second facelift to the Mazda 6 in 2018. Compared to the pre-facelift 6, the difference was pretty much night and day regarding the interior materials and feel, including the infotainment and instrument cluster appearance. And of course, the exterior looked more upmarket too. Then, in 2019, the 4th gen Mazda 3 was introduced and the same upmarket ethos was applied. And this brings me to the reason number 1 why the CX-60 is the most important Mazda of the 21st century. It's not pretending to be upmarket, it is upmarket. With the CX-60, it's not all about the looks and materials. This is the first Mazda to be based on the all-new Skyactiv multi-solution scalable architecture, which is a rear-wheel drive-based platform. So yes, in some markets, the base CX-60 will come in rear-wheel drive and an optional 4-wheel drive. That said, most of them come in all-wheel drive. What about the availability? The main markets for the CX-60 will be Europe, Australia and the home market, Japan. For the North American market, Mazda will launch the CX-70 in not too distant future. CX-70 will use the same platform, but it will be wider. Let's carry on with the engines for the CX-60 then. Initially, there are 4 engine options available. The base, Japan exclusive 2.5 liter inline-4 produces 188 PS and 250 Nm of torque. It will come in rear-wheel drive form as standard, but the all-wheel drive will be optional. Then there are 2 versions of the 3.3 liter inline-6 diesel. Yes, you heard it correctly, an inline-6, not the V6. A less powerful version of the two produces 200 PS and 450 Nm of torque, and the second version produces 254 PS and 550 Nm of torque. The less powerful diesel will come in rear-wheel drive form, and at the moment 4-wheel drive isn't an option. Beefier diesel comes only in 4-wheel drive. And then there's a plug-in hybrid version like this very example here. It's a big deal, more so because it's not just a regular plain hybrid. Mazda has experimented with alternative drivetrains like the all-electric MX-30, which is a very cool vehicle, but unfortunately it won't appeal to a great audience because of its very limited range. But at least they tried. Maybe they have a better luck with the MX-30 when the rotary-assisted range extender hybrid version comes out. There's also a regular hybrid vehicle in Mazda's lineup, but it's a rebadged Toyota Yaris hybrid with a Mazda badge and number 2 stuck on it. The numbers are quite mad for the plug-in: 327 PS and 500 Nm of torque combined in a total system output. All of that power is transferred to the road via 4-wheel drive. Acceleration? Respectable 5.8 seconds from 0 to 100 km/h. As a matter of fact, we're talking about the most powerful production vehicle from Mazda to date. The hybrid system consists of a tried and true 2.5-liter inline-4 producing 191 PS. The electric motor, which is sandwiched between the engine and the transmission, produces 175 PS. And that, my dear viewers, is the second reason why the CX-60 is the most important Mazda of this century. This is their first go with this technology, and right out of the bat they have succeeded. Remarkable performance combined with a decent fuel economy, at least in theory. We have to wait and see about the reliability later. In the summer of 2023 there will be a straight 6 turbocharged gasoline engine available also. It will produce 284 PS and 450 Nm of torque. The displacement figure will be exactly the same as the diesel engines, 3.3 liters. If I'm completely honest, the idea of the straight 6 engine from Mazda is more exciting than the plug-in hybrid drivetrain. I personally love the straight 6 layout, and I'm super glad that many manufacturers like Mercedes and JLR are bringing them back. And that's the third reason why the CX-60 is the most important Mazda of this century. To invest in and develop a relatively large inline 6 at the time when the automotive world is mostly moving towards downsizing and electrification. Most surprisingly, they still believe in diesel. It's a cool move for a car manufacturer known for building small engines, rotaries included. The gearbox? We got big news in that department also. Brand new 8-speed automatic makes a debut on the CX-60. Finally, they decided to ditch the trusty 6-speed auto. Hopefully, the new 8-speed will be similarly reliable. Furthermore, this new gearbox isn't outsourced. We are talking about in-house developed design here, and it's rather unique. Instead of a torque converter, there's a multi-plate clutch combined with an integrated electric motor generator. The gears, on the other hand, are planetary, so in theory it should be very direct and smooth at the same time. Next up, let's talk about trims and pricing. To be clear, this example here is a top-of-the-line Takumi trim with added driver assistance package. In most of Europe, there are 4 trims to choose from: Prime Line, Exclusive Line, Homura and Takumi. To clarify, Prime Line is the base version and Takumi is the top-of-the-line variant. However, in the UK, Scandinavia and Baltics there are 3 trims to choose from. There's no Prime Line, so the cheapest trim is an Exclusive Line in those areas. Now, in Australia, they treat the trims differently compared to Europe. There are also 3 trims, but they are called Evolve, GT and Azami. In a way, they are equivalent to UK, Scandi and Baltic trims, but there are changes in base equipment. For example, the 360-degree camera system and power tailgate are standard. Also, there are wider options regarding the interior trim and appearance. For this video, I'm using German market pricing for reference, and there are plenty of reasons why. All 4 European-specific trims and all of the current engines are represented. And last but not least, I have access to a wide array of German price lists. The cheapest way to get your hands on the CX-60 is to pick the 200 horsepower diesel, which is available in all trim levels. Interestingly, the gap between the diesel and the base plug-in is roughly only 1200 euros. On higher trims the difference is more significant, 3000 euros. Then there's the fact that the plug-in hybrid version isn't the most expensive drivetrain option. The 254 horsepower diesel is 500 euros more expensive, so 2 extra pistons and the larger block are more expensive than a 2.5 liter inline 4 combined with an electric engine, battery pack and extra hybrid technology, and I find that very interesting. In terms of performance and theoretical economy, the hybrid version is a bargain. Let's get into the trims. First off, what do you get if you decide to pick the base Primeline CX-60? I would name some of the highlights. In terms of safety equipment, all trims are equal. For example, the driver's knee airbag and rather unique front center airbag come as standard. In terms of driving aids, the rear cross traffic alert, traffic sign recognition, lane keep steering and blind spot monitor are included. Furthermore, the hill start assist and hill descent control come as standard. True, the descent control is absent from the rear-wheel drive model. What else comes as standard? I would mention auto hold, which is a criminally underrated and often optional in other vehicles, auto folding mirrors, full LED headlights and the gear selectors on the steering wheel. In the infotainment department, the standard audio system has a decent count of 8 speakers, and to be honest, it sounds great, especially for Mazda. Furthermore, it's super adjustable. It has like 10-channel equalizer. Even some really expensive optional systems don't have that extensive fine-tuning option. The instrument cluster is all digital on every trim, and it's 12.3 inches diagonally. It's very high resolution, clear and simple, one of the best I have recently experienced, especially because of the layout and readability. On the downside, it's not that adjustable, so you don't have the option to show the full map there, for example. The central media screen is also 12.3 inches across the range, and I personally love it too. A simple layout that works every time, and in classic Mazda fashion, it's not touchscreen in most cases. Interacting with the media screen via the rotary knob is convenient and logical. The buttons have a nice feel and feedback, and you get used to the system after a couple of minutes only. Well, at least I did. As a side note, the Australian base version comes with a smaller 10.25-inch central display for some strange reason. Also, the navigation system, Android Auto / Apple CarPlay and My Mazda app integration will come as standard too. With the app, you're able to locate the position, send navigation destinations, and lock or unlock the vehicle. Plus, for the hybrid version, you can also precondition the interior. When the vehicle is standstill, the media screen will become touch sensitive while using the Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. So yeah, I would say that the standard equipment is totally okay on the CX-60, especially in the safety and driving aids department. I will list the downsides of the available and unavailable features later at the end of the options section. Next up, the exclusive line. Once again, in some markets, it's the base trim. Let's see what it offers then. High beam assistant, keyless entry, de-icer for the windscreen wipers, backup camera, and parking sensors in front. For the interior, the exclusive line comes with ambient lighting, footwell illumination for front passengers, heated steering wheel and heated front seats, rear ventilation outlets with USB-C ports, and to top it all off, the exclusive line comes with a pretty large and modern head-up display. So in some markets like Finland, Estonia and the UK, to name a few, the CX-60 comes with a head-up display as standard. In my opinion, that's very impressive. Now the two top trims, Homura and Takumi, are the same in terms of features, but they differ in styling and materials. This one here is a more expensive Takumi trim. Homura is all about dark finishes, including wheels, the grille, and even exhaust tips, while Takumi on the other hand is all about chrome. For example, it's the only trim where chrome surroundings for side windows are used. That said, Takumi is more expensive by 1500 euros. I guess that extra cost goes into the white Nappa leather interior instead of the regular black leather interior. Takumi comes also with very classy and exotic real wood decors and some other styling features like white contrast stitching for the steering wheel. Amenities wise, the Homura and Takumi come with the attention assistant, which is very active and intervening. For example, I wanted to capture the blind spot monitor indicator while moving, and the system reacted immediately when I pointed my eyes off the road for just a couple of seconds. Then there's a 10-way electric seat adjustment for both driver and passenger, including heating and cooling feature. And very surprisingly, the electric steering column is also included. In my opinion, that's more than remarkable and is a very clear indicator that Mazda means business with the CX-60. As usual, for the electric steering wheel column, there's also a comfort feature. Then there's quite an advanced driver's personalization system which is based on face recognition. Now that's very unique. Hyundai uses something similar for the Genesis GV60, where you can also unlock the doors with a face recognition. For the CX-60, you can personalize the positions of the driver's seat and steering wheel, exterior mirrors, head-up display, sound settings, and even the air conditioning. Pretty cool and remarkable. And that's not all. Next up, the driver's seat and head-up display position can be adjusted automatically. Just insert your length and the vehicle will adjust the seat to optimal position. Afterwards you can fine-tune the seat if necessary. I would say that it's a rather rare feature. Only very few vehicles can pull that trick. What else? Well, there are heated rear seats, plus upgraded ambient lighting, and that's about it. Besides the trims, there are also 3 additional packages to choose from. The most expensive one is called the Comfort and Leather package, and it's only available for the exclusive line trim. As the name suggests, it has leather seats, 10-way power seats with ventilation for the driver and passenger, heated seats in the rear, attention assistant, and a driver personalization system which includes the facial recognition for driver's profile as I mentioned earlier. So overall, this package is a nice way to save some cash when you don't fancy a Homura or Takumi trim. Then there's the convenience and sound package for a little less than 3,000 euros, and the driver assistance package for 1,600 euros. These 2 packages are available for all the trims except the base Prime line. Highlights for the convenience and sound package are a 360-degree camera system with a so-called bird-eye function, 12-speaker Bose sound system, tinted rear windows, a wireless phone charger, and an electric tailgate with gesture control, or a so-called hands-free function. Now in my opinion, the electric tailgate should be a standard feature for that kind of vehicle, but I will elaborate on that later. I should also add that the convenience and sound package is the only package that this very example doesn't have. Third, and also the cheapest package, is the driver assistance package, and it costs around 1,600 euros. It comes with rear cross traffic monitoring, matrix, LED front lights, auto-dimming, frameless interior mirror, and auto-dimming driver's side exterior mirror, and last but not least, the adaptive cruise control with stop and go feature. Is there something else? Are there any separate options to choose from? Well, besides different exterior paint finishes, there is only one. For around 1,400 euros, you can get the panoramic sunroof. It's a big deal because it's another first for Mazda, if you don't count a Mazda 2 hybrid, which is a Toyota Yaris with Mazda badges. There are a total of 8 exterior paints to choose from. Arctic White, which is a non-metallic base finish, 4 different metallic finishes for slightly under €1,000, and so-called special metallic finishes for slightly over 1,000 euros. Special metallic paints include Mazda's famous Soul Crystal Red, Machine Grey, and Rhodium White, like this example right here. Generally, I find that Mazda has done a decent job carrying on with a package and trim route instead of separate options. The pricing for them is reasonable and they are nicely distinguishable. It may lose some flexibility, but overall you get a nice deal while speccing your CX-60. That said, I find it a bit strange that the base Prime line is very restricted. It comes as it is, you cannot pick any package for it, including the panoramic roof. Fortunately, all the paint options are available though. I guess the Prime line exists as a fleet or company vehicle. You get a very nice looking car with all the necessary options. Still, there are some questionable aspects. Both the adaptive cruise control and electric tailgate are only available in packages. These two are now very common standard features these days. Crossovers, SUVs and station wagons come often with an electric tailgate as standard, or at least it's usually included in some of the lower trim versions. So, in short, some packages are kinda out of balance, mainly because of the head-up display, which is standard in some markets. Now at this point, I would trade the head-up display for adaptive cruise control or an electric tailgate. On the higher trims, like Homura and Takumi, you get the electric steering column and still no adaptive cruise or the electric tailgate. Come on, Mazda. Both the HUD and electric column classify as a good to have features, which means that they are not ultimately necessary. I would remove both of them from their trims and move them to the convenience package. For example, both the electric tailgate and adaptive cruise should be included in the exclusive line. So this one here is almost loaded. It has the top of the line Takumi trim, and it's weird to have so many features, including the panorama roof, electric steering column, head-up display, ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, fancy face recognition, but it's still missing the powered tailgate. It doesn't make sense at all. Another features-related complaint is a lack of glove box illumination on the base Prime line model. Is that really too much to ask? In the end, it's Mazda's decision, and I'm pretty sure that they very well know what they're doing. Hey, from a business perspective, it seems a good idea, and it forces the customer to choose both the driver assistance package for adaptive cruise and the convenience and sound package to get the electric tailgate. The electronically controlled gear selector is all new and rather interesting regarding the shift pattern. Reverse, neutral and drive are on the same line, while park is towards the driver. I found this solution very handy while maneuvering. Putting the lever into park needs some time to get used to. Interestingly, Mazda has started making separate versions of gear selector assemblies for both left and right-hand drive markets. Originally, I planned to talk about the competition now, but that section of the script turned out too long, which means I decided to produce a separate video about the competitors. Let's carry on then. I hope that at least someone is still watching, because finally I'm about to go over my driving experience. The driving position and ergonomics are spot on. CX-60 feels roomier than the rivals, for example, but on paper they are very similar in terms of vehicle width. Unlike Mazda, the Germans have this emphasized cockpit feeling while sitting in a driver's seat. Driving a Mazda reminds me more of sitting behind a luxurious office table, certainly in a good way. While driving on your own, and by that I mean when you don't use the adaptive cruise control or lane keep assist, the gauge cluster looks like a classic gauge cluster should look. Emphasize speedo in the middle, tachometer or in case of plug-in hybrid, power gauge on the left, and coolant temperature, fuel indicator with the rest of the info on the right side. While using the driving aids, the gauge cluster will change its layout. Analog looking speedo is replaced with an adaptive cruise distance display with a tiny CX-60 in the middle. I find it very thoughtful because you will know exactly if you're on your own or not. The set speed and distance are very clear and easy to find. One of the best interfaces I have encountered, especially in terms of adaptive cruise control. On countless amount of other manufacturers, the set speed is very tiny and difficult to find when you're driving the car for the very first time. I think it's super dangerous when you have to stare at the cluster to find out if your adaptive cruise is activated or not. In the case of the plug-in hybrid, there are a total of 5 driving modes: normal, sport, off-road, towing, and EV mode. That means there is no specific hybrid mode because normal mode equals hybrid. So, how does the all-new hybrid system from Mazda feel? Well, it's totally different experience compared to the other plug-in hybrids I have driven. They felt relatively similar to each other. Before the CX-60, I have driven 3 plug-in hybrids, a Jeep Wrangler 4xe, a Toyota RAV4 plug-in hybrid, and the Citroen C5X. They are all very quiet in the EV mode, and communication between the internal combustion engine and the electric motor is flawless. CX-60 on the other hand feels very mechanical even in EV mode, in a rather good way of course. There's this electrical, high-pitched sound coming from the drivetrain, and I find it oddly pleasant. Don't get me wrong, it's still quiet and relaxing in EV mode, but compared to the other plug-in hybrids I have driven, there's so much more you can hear. And that's always been the case for Mazdas. They want the driver to know what the vehicle is doing at every moment. It's just their school of thought, I suppose. What's need to be said is following. If this would be your first ever plug-in hybrid experience, you will be amazed. But if you have experienced some other similar kinds of vehicles, there is a chance you find it a bit unrefined thanks to the lack of total silence and occasional clunkiness. In that case, the plug-in hybrid version of the CX-60 isn't for everyone. What clunkiness, you ask? I'm talking about the transitions between the electric motor and the 2.5-liter engine. Let's picture this. You're in a city environment. You decide to slow down by lifting your foot off the accelerator, and then after a brief pause, you decide to gently accelerate again. There is a chance you encounter a noticeable clunk from the drivetrain. That chance is not that frequent. It happened to me like 2-3 times. I'm sure that's because of the fact that the electric motor sits between the engine and the gearbox, and there are clutches instead of the torque converter. Still, with that said, this clunkiness isn't a deal breaker. Maybe some software update or something will solve the issue. While driving fast, the 4-cylinder sounds okay, but in a classic Mazda way, you can tell when the engine is gaining speed even while accelerating moderately. While driving normally and on half throttle, the CX-60 is a sweetheart and doesn't feel quick at all. If you decide to really step on it, oh boy, all the hell breaks loose. You will receive a very dramatic and powerful acceleration. You can really tell that the engine and the electric motor are both working at full power, and it really pushes you to the seat firmly. But the best part is the sound. I don't know how Mazda does it, but there was some hint of a supercharger sound on hard acceleration. One of the sales reps pointed out that the sound in the cabin isn't generated through the speakers, it's piped in through a firewall instead. If that's really the case, this solution works perfectly. It's a plug-in hybrid, so is it gentle on sipping fuel? Well, in reality, not that much. And at this point, it doesn't surprise me at all, because there's virtually no plug-in hybrid in existence that is overwhelmingly economical. The WLTP figures are a joke, like they are on all of the plug-in hybrids. I think they are achievable, but you won't be enjoying your driving experience at all. You need to use as much EV mode as possible. When purchasing that kind of vehicle, make sure you have a regular, unlimited access to a charger, only then it can make sense. On the bright side, the combustion engine can act as a generator for the battery if insisted. While driving on a highway, it gives you roughly 1 kilometer of EV range after every covered kilometer in so-called range saver mode. It will obviously affect the fuel economy, but when you arrive into the city, you can balance it all out. There's this German fuel economy website, which I totally trust, and fortunately there are over 30 CX-60s with a plug-in hybrid drivetrain registered. The average consumption between them is 6.9 liters per 100 kilometers, which sounds fair. Among those 33 users, 5 of them can manage to run their CX-60 under 5 liters per 100 kilometers. That's not bad at all, considering the performance level and decent practicality of the CX-60. And finally, the handling. For a rather heavy electrified SUV, it's decently enjoyable on curvy roads. You can tell it's a heavy vehicle, but it doesn't affect your confidence at all. Mazda has managed to mask its weight and dimensions quite well. Compared to the smaller CX-5, the driving characteristics are similar, but the CX-60 is around 10% less fun in the corners, and I would take that as a compliment. So, I will end here. What are your thoughts on the CX-60? Do you agree that it's one of the best Mazdas of all time, or is it just another boring SUV? If you're still here, I truly appreciate it a lot. Thanks for watching.